You get an invitation. You don't especially want to go. But the moment you consider saying no, something shifts. A low hum of unease, a flicker of what if. What if that night turns out to be the one everyone talks about for years? So you go. And halfway through, you realize you didn't want to be there at all. What just happened? That wasn't enthusiasm. That was fear wearing the mask of desire. That pull you felt toward the party you didn't want to attend. Researchers have been studying it for longer than the word for it has existed. The term FOMO, fear of missing out, entered academic literature only around 2013. But the feeling it names is ancient. What the research tells us is that FOMO is not really about the events you miss. It is about a nagging sense that other people are living something fuller than you are right now. That is a meaningful distinction. You are not afraid of missing the party. You are afraid that your life, as currently experienced, is somehow less than it could be. This matters because it reframes what you are actually trying to solve. If FOMO were about the events, you could cure it by attending everything. But most people with high FOMO still feel it at the party, during the trip, even in the middle of the thing they chose. The problem was never about the external option. It was about a relationship with your own present experience. And once you see it that way, the question changes. It stops being which event should I choose, and it becomes, why does the present keep feeling insufficient? In 2013, Andrew Przybylski and colleagues at the University of Oxford published what became the foundational study on FOMO. They surveyed nearly 1,500 people and found that the fear of missing out was reliably predicted by two things: unmet needs for autonomy and competence, and a weak sense of relatedness, the feeling that you matter to others and that others matter to you. People who felt most connected and most in control of their lives showed the lowest FOMO scores. People who felt adrift, undervalued, or disconnected showed the highest. What surprises me most about that finding is how it reorders the logic. We tend to assume FOMO is caused by social media or by having too many options, and those things amplify it. But the root is a deficit in something more basic: the sense that your current life is genuinely your own. Przybylski's team also found that FOMO correlates strongly with checking your phone during meals and even while driving. Not because those people are shallow, but because they are seeking reassurance that the present is enough. This connects to work Daniel Kahneman explored in Thinking Fast and Slow, published in 2011. Kahneman draws a distinction between the experiencing self, the one living moment to moment, and the remembering self, the one that constructs a story about your life afterward. FOMO exploits the remembering self. It asks you to imagine a future memory of an event you haven't attended, and to weigh that imagined memory against the reality you are currently in. That comparison is always unfair, because the imagined memory is always a highlight reel. The reality you are sitting in has no such edit. There is a layer beneath the social anxiety, and it has to do with choice itself. Barry Schwartz, in The Paradox of Choice, published in 2004, documented something counterintuitive. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to feel satisfied with any of them. This is not a character flaw. It is a structural consequence of optionality. Every door you choose closes others, and in a world that keeps generating new doors, the act of closing any of them starts to feel like loss. Schwartz distinguished between what he called maximizers and satisficers. Maximizers need to know they have chosen the best possible option. Satisficers choose something that meets their needs and move on. Maximizers, by his research, report higher rates of regret, second-guessing, and lower life satisfaction, despite often making objectively better choices by external measures. FOMO is, in part, maximizing applied to your own life story. You are trying to curate the optimal sequence of experiences, and that project has no natural endpoint. There is always another event, another city, another version of you that might have gone. Kierkegaard saw something like this in what he called the aesthetic stage of life. This is the person who lives entirely for sensation and novelty, always reaching for something the present cannot quite deliver. He was writing before smartphones, but the shape of the problem is the same. Freedom, when it becomes unlimited, stops feeling like freedom. It starts feeling like a test you cannot study for. You cannot think your way out of FOMO. Understanding the mechanism, knowing it is anxiety in disguise, knowing that the grass is a cognitive illusion, none of that reliably quiets the feeling. What does seem to help is something more behavioral and more patient. The research points to three practical shifts. Przybylski's data suggests relatedness is the real antidote. Not more social contact, but deeper contact. One honest conversation where you feel genuinely heard does more for FOMO than 10 events attended out of obligation. Quality of connection, not quantity of attendance. Second, there is a practice from acceptance and commitment approaches in therapy, noticing the pull of the imagined alternative without treating it as information about your present. The thought this could be better is just a thought. It is not data about your life. You do not have to act on it. Third, and perhaps most simply, there is what Kahneman's framework implies: invest in the experiencing self, not just the story. The meal you eat slowly, the walk you take without your phone, these are where actual life accumulates. You are not building memories for later. You are living now. Viktor Frankl, writing in Man's Search for Meaning in 1946, described meaning as something found in genuine engagement with the present, not in the accumulation of peak experiences. His context was extreme, but the principle scales down to ordinary evenings. You do not need to cure FOMO. You need to make it less persuasive. And it becomes less persuasive every time you choose something and stay present long enough to discover that this, right here, was enough. If these kinds of questions about how the mind misleads itself are worth sitting with, there is more in this space. Subscribing means building a more honest map of your own psychology, one concept at a time.